not from a musical family, or that's a little bit unfair. My parents are interested in culture, and actually, not to sound snobbish, but they're kind of into high cultural stuff, unusually so. I grew up in the southeast of England, and my generation, it's perhaps unusual to be interested in literature and classical music automatically, but my parents are from that kind of background. My dad's from England, my mum's from Germany, and I think classical music was just normal for them. So we used to go to chamber music concerts as kids, and it was inevitable that we would start off by playing the piano and the recorder. So I was always going to have the option. And then I think, not to be too Freudian too early on, but since the rest of my family were all rather intellectual, I think that music was the one thing that I seemed to be able to do better than them. The piano was so awkward for me that is actually how I ended up playing the horn. And that must have come much more easily to me because it was immediately thrust upon me as a thing I was good at. So everyone has their kind of, sort of foundational myth. And mine is that there was a horn in the room where I was failing to play the piano well, namely my piano lesson. It belonged to the husband of my piano teacher. So then, because I could get a note out of it immediately, this was considered a great breakthrough. And then, 25 years later, here I am. The horn is considered very difficult, but I think that because it's considered so difficult, in a strange way, it's easy. Because everyone expects you to make a mistake, and if you make a mistake, they don't think, why didn't he concentrate? They think, gosh, what a tricky instrument. It's sort of acceptable, I think, still, even nowadays with such a high standard of various colleagues, that you might not play perfectly. And I think that's very enabling. And actually, to jump briefly to conducting, one of the things that I find most challenging about conducting is that not many people in the room know if you're good or not. Whereas one of the beauties of a difficult instrument like the horn, which is difficult because everyone can hear if you make a mistake, that paradoxically perhaps, or at least ironically, I now see as one of the great advantages, because you don't have to self-promote, you just play. And it's difficult, so if you're one of the people that can play, you get a career. I thought I would move from university, albeit a very good university with lots of very keen amateur musicians, to music college in London where everyone wants to be a professional. So I presume the standard would be much higher, and then we could do some great chamber music. And in fact, the standard was higher at university, and at music college, of course, the best people were way better. But it was really a lot about not making mistakes, and it was about making sure that your base level was good enough to be employed, rather than searching for the kind of sublime at the top of what you could do on a good day. I used to go to France to a place called Sant that ran an early music course, and I would play these strange old horns. And in that scene, in the early music scene, certainly 10, 15 years ago, it really didn't matter how many mistakes you made or if you did something quote unquote wrong, because by changing instrument, you're already giving yourself a greater challenge, but you're judged really on whether you can find something new or do something unusual, find something special. The beauty of playing the horn is that usually 4, sometimes up to 8 players, occasionally 2, but in this orchestra almost always 4, you all have your own role, and it's absolutely specialised. So actually the leadership role is wonderful because I don't have to do that much actively. Everyone knows that I'm listening carefully to what they're doing, but they're also listening carefully to what I'm doing. Of all the sections in the orchestra, the horn is the most interesting one in terms of how we relate to each other and to the orchestra, because the horn plays almost always at the crucial moments structurally in the piece. And because it's known to be a difficult instrument, the conductor's always a little bit scared of us. So you look at the beginning of the week at the conductor, and while they might be policing other people, they're subtly policing us, but they're mostly just hoping that we're kind of malleable or friendly or going to do a good job. It's a wonderful advantage of being a horn player. We feel like we're secretly running the show. I'm unaware precisely what my role is in the orchestra and what effect I'm having on those around me. However, what effect I'd like to be having is making people feel as comfortable as possible, but somehow by osmosis bringing the experiences I've had in other groups and my kind of musical convictions to the stage. I'm trying to bring my ears and as well as my playing to the game. I think when you go to music college, you think, right, there's technique on this instrument. I need to get as good as possible. And then the longer you spend as a professional, the more you realize the quality of the performance depends on the quality of the listening that each of the musicians is doing. My interest in conducting comes from a good place because I feel like when I meet new musicians now, when I go to a festival, or even when I join the orchestra here, I wanted to connect a lot of my musical experiences with them. But playing first horn, for example, in a Tchaikovsky symphony, there's only so much that you're playing the first horn part could possibly bring to the colleagues. And whereas with conducting, you're absolutely allowed, you're encouraged to bring all your musical knowledge to that experience. In terms of personal fulfillment, if I have a concert as a conductor, I'm always learning something. I'm always better by the end of the concert. Each project is just hugely fulfilling. I've got so much to learn. Conducting is the whole orchestra, and playing the horn is one, albeit crucial part of it. So it's an expansion of what I've been doing as a horn player, but it's just so much easier, and it's so much clearer to me how I can transfer the things I really care about into a project where I'm conducting than into a project where I'm playing the horn. This scholarship gives me the confidence to try and finish some of the work I wanted to do, but largely, yes, I admit it's going to be really enabling because I'm going to study conducting in Manchester. Thanks to the UK scene, university education is expensive. I'm also going to try and keep my group Odin up and running. That's a Gothenburg-based group. So yes, it's mainly going to be focused on conducting, but I'm sort of hoping that it basically enables me to do all of the things I've been trying to do and kind of get me where I want to get to much quicker. I think it's amazing.